The U.S. men's national team has released its roster for the upcoming friendlies in the October window, and this roster has particular significance because this is Mauricio Pochettino's first roster as the U.S. men's national team head coach. And I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me. I'm wearing the jersey, I'm wearing the kit, and I didn't want to be the full kit guy who came onto YouTube and was overhyped. But with it being Pochettino's first roster, I figured it was time to celebrate a little bit and hopefully rejuvenate some of that U.S. men's national team spirit that I think we all lost over the summer with a very disappointing Copa America and in our last window where we again underperformed against Canada and New Zealand. So clean slate, fresh start, we're excited and we're wearing the jersey today. We're going to start with the goalkeepers, and in this lineup, Pochettino elected to bring 4 different players. In this roster, we have Ethan Horvath of Cardiff City, Patrick Schulte of the Columbus Crew, Zach Steffen of the Colorado Rapids, and Matt Turner of Crystal Palace. And honestly, I expected to see 3 of these 4 goalkeepers, with Zach Steffen being the surprise. However, I do believe that the goalkeeper competition is completely up for grabs. Ethan Horvath has shown that he's not ultimately starter material and is currently benched for his club in the 2nd Division of England. Patrick Schulte is young and still developing, and we've seen that while he can be good, he can also be very shaky. Matt Turner, he is the 2nd choice goalkeeper at Crystal Palace, and he's not playing much at all. Zach Steffen is the surprise here. While a lot of people out of Colorado will say that he played very well this season and that he's come up with some big saves and had some good games, that may be true that he's had moments, but the underlying statistics show that he's just been average. And I'm not sure that we're going to get the guy who was really pushing his way through the Man City system and being their solid backup and playing with confidence. But who knows? I know that Pochettino likes to play out of the back, and Zach Steffen might be the goalkeeper out of these 4 that is the best with his feet. So I would not be surprised to see him get at least 45 minutes this camp. Moving on to our defenders, it looks like we've brought Marlon Fossey of Standard Liège, Christopher Lund of Palermo, Mark McKenzie of Toulouse, Tim Ream of Charlotte FC, Anthony Robinson, his former teammate who still currently plays for Fulham, Miles Robinson of Cincinnati FC, Joe Scally of Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Austin Trusty of Celtic. I know that when we look at this group of defenders, we can all point out that we're missing a key few players. Chris Richards being one of them. Unfortunately, this roster is full of injuries, and we've actually had some updates to the roster since its release because of additional injuries, and we'll cover those a little bit later in the video. The matchup or the players that I want to highlight in this group of defenders are going to be Marlon Fossey and Joe Scally, because I do believe that under Pochettino's system, he wants a more dynamic set of fullbacks who can get up and down the field and provide a little bit in the attack. We know that those 2 are battling for the backup position behind Sergiño Dest once he recovers from his ACL injury. Which one of them will make it, which one of them will emerge over the other, I'm not too sure. But I do believe that there's going to be signs that we can look for in this camp. We're playing Panama on the 12th of October, and we're playing Mexico on the 15th. We need to look at our formation, and we need to look at how we play during those games. If Pochettino leans on Marlon Fossey to really get up and down against Mexico to complete our attack, I would say that he's favoring him and rating him over Joe Scally. If he chooses to play Marlon Fossey against Panama, I would say that Pochettino might be viewing him as that 3rd option because he's prioritizing Joe Scally's defensive capabilities over a Mexican team who is, while struggling, still typically more dangerous and dynamic in attack than Panama. So he may be looking at who can bring what to the table and deciding what he can value. And it's up to us to try to read that, but we're not in the coach's head, so we're going to have to wait for those games and find out. But I do think that that's going to be an interesting duo to watch. The next category of player that we're going to look at is our midfielders. And we're starting off with Brendan Aronson from Leeds, Gianluca Busio from Venezia, Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, Weston McKennie of Juventus, Aidan Morris of Middlesbrough, Yunus Musa of AC Milan, and Malik Tillman of PSV. Again, this portion of the roster has changed as some of our players named have developed injuries. One of the most notable ones here is Johnny Cardoso, who is staying with his club because he recently got a knee injection to be able to play over the weekend of October 5th, 6th, and 7th, and they're resting him during this international break because ultimately they are friendlies and nothing more. While I was excited to see Johnny take another shot at staking his claim for the number 6, we're going to have to wait until the November camp to potentially see that outcome. By that point, we could have a healthy Tyler Adams, and him and Johnny can be going head-to-head instead of participating in different camps and us not getting a good look at both of them at the same time. So that is something that we are unfortunately going to have to continue to look forward to. But a positive of this is that we do have a healthy, fit, and informed Weston McKennie and an informed Malik Tillman. Both of those players have had really strong starts to the season. Weston, after a very rough first couple of weeks, has started in 5 straight games and really staked his claim back in that Juventus midfield. And Malik Tillman picked up right where he left off from last year, dominating teams in the Eredivisie, contributing to goals, whether he's scoring or providing assists, and running their midfield. With Gio Reyna out this camp with an injury, we're going to be relying on Malik to spark some of that creativity. Hopefully he can continue to step up and make more strides with the national team like we saw in the match against Canada, where he was one of the only bright spots. And finally, we're moving on to our group of forwards, which includes Folarin Balogun of Monaco, Ricardo Pepi of PSV, Christian Pulisic of AC Milan, Josh Sargent of Norwich City, Timothy Weah of Juventus, and Haji Wright of Coventry City. I'll be honest, I am very excited to see this group of forwards come into play. However, they are also dropping like flies. And Folarin Balogun over the weekend, after scoring a goal, went out with a dislocated shoulder and he will miss this camp. He's been replaced by Brandon Vasquez, so we'll see if he can bring something to the group. Honestly, I don't rate Brandon Vasquez very highly. However, he does bring some aerial quality to the game, and he could be effective if we need a late goal. So this is his opportunity to prove that maybe he belongs. I personally don't think his ceiling reaches Pepe, Sargent, or Balogun's, but I would love to see him prove me wrong. The other player that I'm really excited to see is going to come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, and that is Christian Pulisic. He is off to an absolutely scorching start with AC Milan this season. In 7 matches, he has 5 goals and 2 assists, and he's also added another goal in just 2 matches in the Champions League. He could not be off to a better start. He could not be enjoying his game any more than he is right now, and I'm excited to see him bring that to the US men's national team. For the longest time, the US men's national team camps felt like Christian Pulisic's sanctuary. They were a place where he could go to regain his form, get some minutes under his feet, and get a good reset when things were not going well at Chelsea, or if he was just not getting the playtime that many of us thought he deserved. In our last camp, and towards the end of the summer, to be completely honest, it looked like he wasn't enjoying his time with the camp. He wasn't enjoying his time with the guys for the first time in what I would argue is his entire professional career. I'm really hoping that his excellent club form and a new fire lit under the group with our new coach is really going to change that, and he's going to come back and again look energized and renewed and just excited to be here in this journey towards 2026. I'm really hoping that he can enjoy the next half of this World Cup cycle, really round into form, and hopefully step into that leadership role that I think we're all waiting for. And the last thing that we need to address is the injuries and exclusions to this roster. There are an absolutely ridiculous amount of injuries coming into this roster, and it's great that we're able to put together such a strong roster despite those injuries. However, this is not what we wanted coming into Pochettino's first camp as our head coach. After the roster released, additional players came down with injuries over the weekend, and I'm only going to cover those who I think make strong cases for the roster, and I'm going to list off those players now, starting with Folarin Balogun, Kevin Paredes, Giovanni Reyna, Luca De La Torre, Tyler Adams, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Chris Richards, Serginho Dest, Johnny Cardoso, and Tim Weah. And we knew a lot of those players were going to be left out before the roster was released because they're dealing with knocks or slightly more significant injuries, and we're not going to risk their legs or their minutes for some friendlies. However, it would be nice if they were able to be called in because our team needs as much time together as possible to gel and figure out how we're going to play under Pochettino before 2026 rolls around. The 3 roster spots that were updated due to injury are Brandon Vasquez in place of Fuller and Balogun, Tanner Tessman in place of Johnny Cardoso, and Alejandro Zendejas in place of Timothy Weah. Now, it appears that Pochettino is really replacing players with, like for like scenarios. So I'm thinking that he's viewing some of these guys as their primary positions only for the moment, and he's not looking to potentially shift responsibility or shift mindset until he really knows what he has. There can be cases made for other players who were left out of the roster, but not exact replacements or exact fits for replacements. All right, guys, that's everything I've got for you. That's our roster release. I am so excited to see the players come back this camp. I'm so excited to see a new life within this team, and hopefully we really get a good preview of what our guys are going to look like under Pochettino. It's not going to be a finished product. It's not going to be the end of our development. It's truthfully the very beginning under him. We need to give our guys a little bit of grace and a little bit of time, but the bare minimum that we should expect and accept is that classic hustle, grind, effort, and a little bit more creativity going forward. Let me know what you think. Are you guys as excited as I am to see Pochettino come in and take hold of this team? What do you think is going to really change under him this camp, and what should we expect moving forward? And who do you think is going to thrive the most under him? Is it going to be a player like Malik Tillman taking the next step? Is it going to be a player like Zach Steffen getting his first opportunity since the 2022 World Cup cycle? What do you guys think? Who's going to step up? Let me know in the comments, and I'm excited to see this going forward. Catch you next time.